Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and there are more terrorist restrictions on people's basic freedoms thanks to COVID, or should I say, government disguised as COVID. This is an absolutely ridiculous story out of Breitbart. It says, COVID police, couple fined hundreds for kissing outside, for kissing. They are destroying our very humanity, folks. They are telling us to hide our smiles. They're telling us to stay inside, not talk to people, not socialize while they rip us off social media like we have been recently deleted from YouTube. They're just trying to destroy any social life, which will stop people from organizing and standing up to this absolute tyranny. We're going to go into that and other forms of tyranny under these COVID restrictions. I mean, there's so many that we can't really account for all of them, so we're going to go into a select few. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoy this video. Make sure to first hit that like button before we go into it. Share on social media. Hit that notification bell on BitChute. We are only on BitChute, LBRY/Odysee, and Flote.app at this moment because we got completely deleted from YouTube for telling the truth. Though they say we got deleted because we were bullying by saying that Hollywood elites are all too often aristocratic and speak down to the masses from their mansions while their assistants and the people that work for them go out of work and end up on the streets. But nonetheless, apparently that's bullying. And apparently deleting people's livelihoods isn't bullying. So good to know. Make sure to check the links below for GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribe. We're completely viewer funded. And of course, yeah, just find us on these social media networks and help us build our audience back up over there, because we went from 155,000 subscribers down to about 5,000 on BitChute. But I'm really appreciative of how we're starting to grow on there. Anyway, let's get into this article. As it says, COVID police, couple fined hundreds for kissing outside. And as the article goes into, a couple in the northern Italian city of Milan has been fined 400 euros by police after they kissed each other in public, violating Wuhan virus regulations. As the article continues here, it says the incident took place on October 9th when the couple, a 40-year-old Italian man and a Polish woman, had left their house to go out to a local restaurant. While walking hand in hand, the couple kissed each other and were almost immediately surrounded by police. So yeah, there's no danger if they're talking about social distancing. If you believe all that BS, there's no danger in a bunch of police that are handling people and probably molesting people all day going up to this couple and touching them and arresting them possibly and handing them tickets and coming in close contact. No, but this is obvious. This is an obvious example about how it's not about safety. It's not about health. It's about control. And as soon as people start to wake up to that more, we're going to have a hell of a revolution on our hands. Carrying on here, it says, officers asked the couple a number of questions, particularly of the woman who only spoke English and Polish, noting the pair had different addresses on their identification documents, newspaper Il Giornale reports. So they asked for the papers. Give me the papers. Okay, great. Now we really do have Nazi Gestapo police in Italy, which doesn't surprised me because, I mean, they've still kind of clung on to certain things back from the Mussolini days in Italy, which is very unfortunate. I spent a lot of time in Italy, and even before the whole COVID stuff, I was taking pictures of a public square, and I had military coming up to me with their guns and telling me to delete the stuff off my phone and taking the camera out or the phone out of my hand to delete pictures of the square. So they always have been a little bit tyrannical, but nonetheless, they've really stepped it up here because why wouldn't they? They're utilizing a crisis to their opportunity, a crisis which the world order created in the first place. Continuing on here, you see this post from Twitter, Thomas D. Williams, PhD. Police hunt down fine man lying alone on an Italian beach. There's crazy stuff like that. Oh, you're lying alone on the beach? We need to arrest you. We saw that earlier this year as well in places like California, where a guy's surfing by himself or wakeboarding or something along those lines, and you end up with police going into the water to arrest the guy. Is he damaging someone? Is he hurting someone? I saw this in Mexico too. I ended up harassing, and I mean harassing. I went up to cops on the beach and started yelling at them on camera, which you could find on, I guess, my BitChute and my LBRY. I went up to these Mexican police and asked them why they were kicking 16-year-old kids out of the ocean. They were by themselves. I said, is there coronavirus in the ocean? They said, yeah, there's coronavirus everywhere. These guys are freaking morons, and they're tyrants, and they're goose-stepping Nazi pigs. And look, I don't say that very lightly. I know there's a whole bunch of BS on the left going up against cops, but they are literally the enforcers of the state. They're the ones that enforce the insanity of the state. Without them, the state is just fear and nothing else. There's no enforcement. So keep that in mind, my friends. Carrying on, it says, the police then issued a €400 fine to the couple for breaking regulations that state people in public must remain at least several feet away from each other unless they are wearing a mask. The only exemptions are given to people living together, but as the couple's identification showed different addresses, the exemption was not granted to them, despite the man showing photographic evidence. The couple had been engaged for over 2 years. The 40-year-old Italian man has launched an appeal against the fine. By the way, in many places in Europe, and I'm in Europe right now, in many places in Europe, like the Netherlands, for example, they have, they have relationships are not tourism visas, or love is not tourism visas for people that are couples that have seen each other on a couple of occasions, so they can go into the country without having to face all the restrictions and see each other if they're engaged because of long-distance relationships. Obviously, Italy doesn't have anything quite like that. They're clearly cracking down on this kind of stuff, which is absolutely insane. And again, you have this lack of science involved under the guise of science, which is true Orwellian doublespeak. You have this idea of these things are science-based. These laws are science-based. No, they're not. They're the absolute opposite. What infectious disease expert is going to say that people who probably sleep in the same bed can't kiss on the street, but police going up to them and harassing them and arresting them and possibly beating them if they don't, submit to this tyranny, will increase the risk tenfold? If anything, if you actually believe in that nonsense. Or the whole mask situation, walking down the street by yourself with a mask on, or sitting on a beach by yourself. Seriously, and we're going to get into this more right away because we have some crazy other stories from the past as well here. The incident, as it says, comes just months after police in Rimini used drones, ATVs, and a Jeep to hunt down a lone man lying completely alone in the middle of a local beach. The operation was widely criticized by members of the Italian public after it went viral on social media, with many claiming it showed dictatorial overreach from the government, while others praised the man for his social distancing efforts. What happened to the potential investigation into Bill Gates in Italy? I heard that months and months ago, and I haven't heard anything since, and now we see the continued tyranny ramp up in Italy, as well as most places in the world, because going into cold and flu season, they're going to blame every cold and flu as on COVID. They'll say it's COVID, even though we now see that the flu rate numbers for this year so far are absolutely minimal, tiny. I think there was like 16 in the United States versus like 1,600 last year in the same week. Insane. Carrying on, as we see out of Breitbart, London, it says coronavirus UK party, or UK police bust hot tub party. Yeah, you don't want to be sitting in a hot tub. Do people realize how viruses actually spread? Do they realize that viruses are just dead exosomes? They're already dead. They just go into your system. They corrupt your immune system, and then you catch other things. Then you can get an infection or something like that. That's how viruses work. They're not like, the virus doesn't go in and go, oh, I'm going to make you sick and die. You're going to die from the virus. No, you die from things you catch when you get a virus. That's how viruses work. And there's millions of viruses out there. And most of us at some point within any given year have had some virus, whether we're symptomatic or asymptomatic, and it's a symptomatic spread when you're coughing, sneezing, and exerting this illness that things spread. Of course, we're going to get into that further in a moment too, because there's more to that as well. Other countries, as it says, such as Britain, have also seen large fines directed at those breaking social distancing rules. Last month, a student house party saw students served a £10,000 fine after around 50 guests showed up. Earlier this month, the World Health Organization, WHO, made a U-turn and slammed coronavirus lockdowns for crashing the global economy and increasing global poverty. Even Bill Gates initially, back in April, said that the lockdowns will kill more people than the pandemic itself, but then went on to say, but we need more lockdowns. It's just absolute evil, my friends. And I can't help but remember these stories from back in April and May where, a little girl's first birthday party was busted by like 25 or 35 cops who then rushed in there and arrested a bunch of the parents, which wasn't like a lot of parents. It was like 5 or 6 parents, and they needed like 25, 35 cops. They arrested an old man. I think it was like his 95th birthday celebration. He decided on his own. It's amazing. People could be responsible for themselves. The basis of freedom itself is responsibility, individualistic, not collective. When you say collective responsibility, that's no longer responsibility. That's doublespeak. When you say collective responsibility, you're better off just saying slavery, okay? These rules are insane. You see this article from a while ago out of BBC News from September 23rd. It says, sex and coronavirus, what are the rules? The fact that that even has to be asked is absolutely insane. Imagine the slavery we've actually entered into when we get to this point where it says couples who don't live together can now meet up for sex after changes to the coronavirus restrictions in England, but casual sex is still banned. The government is telling you if you can or cannot have sex. The same government, by the way, that acts all tolerant and stuff like that and says, oh yeah, you can have you can have sex with anyone you want and do whatever you want, and sex change and children and stuff like that. And look, outside of the sex change and children, obviously, I'm fine with people doing whatever they want in life. But when you have this level of tyranny, suddenly it's so hypocritical. One day they're like, we need to stay out of your bedroom. The next second they're like, we're literally in your bedroom, and if you don't do as we say, we're going to put you in jail and steal a bunch of your money, which we'll then spend on weapons of war to go murder children overseas. Great. Thanks for the public safety announcement, British government. And continuing on, similar things happen in Canada, where we saw this a little while ago from Global News. This is out of Canada. Try glory holes for safer sex during coronavirus, BC CDC says. Glory holes. And you have Theresa Tam, who's like Canada's version of Dr. Fauci, who's a complete fraudulent B-word, saying that you need to stick to masturbating. Don't have sex with other people. And at one point, it was criminalized to have sex with people outside of your own house that don't live in the same house as you. This is insane, guys. This isn't under the guise of you're selfish if you don't follow these guidelines. Isn't it selfish to tell people who they can or cannot have sex with because you're afraid of something that has a 99.997% survival rating? And that's according to the CDC themselves. If you actually consider the asymptomatic cases, it's a much higher chance of survival. This is such an insane level of bullshit. I can't even comprehend, I can't even calculate it in my brain, because it's gotten to the point where it's just, it's stupid to even, I can't, my brain's going to explode talking about this. But like we have these stupid articles like from healthing.ca here in Canada. It says, when can we have stranger sex again? New guidelines outline sex practices in a post-pandemic world. Don't get too excited. Not much has changed. When can we have the fact that anyone needs to ask that question is disgusting. It's wrong on every level, and people should be rioting in the streets, not, burning down people's buildings, but going to the government buildings and demanding they stand down. Demanding. But I think the more realistic way or approach to doing that kind of thing is not actually that. It's going to be just living by example. The best way to be free is to live free, live by example, and don't obey insanity. Just live, just be, just stand free, and don't obey the tyranny. It's your responsibility. Like I said earlier, freedom is simply just individual responsibility. It's no more difficult. It's no more simple. It's as basic as that. It's you. You don't own freedom. Freedom isn't external. You don't have rights. Rights aren't external. You are the right or you aren't. You're free or you're a slave. The more people start disobeying and standing up for themselves, the more people will be free. That's just how it works. You don't ask the government to set you free, because the government can only take your freedoms away. It will not give you freedoms. It can only take them away. So you have to, as an individual, just be free, live free, stand free. You are or you aren't. It's so basic. And if more people understood that, just by the words of Henry David Thoreau, if more people, if like 1% of people stood up and refused to pay taxes, for example, the whole system would collapse. Well, why aren't more people doing that then? Because they're scared, because government is based in fear. And the only thing that government actually adds up to force is the police and to some degree the military. And they are putting more than just police on the streets, apparently, in many cities across the US, Canada, Britain, Australia, which is insane. They're putting federal police in some cases on the streets and COVID regulation authorities to go around, like in Savannah, Georgia, and demand people follow rules. They harass people all day. They ticket people all day. They take the papers. They take the papers. They demand people follow the rules of the organized crime racket we call government, or else. Well, or else what, government? Or else what if everyone just resists? Or else you guys completely collapse because people will see that it's just a facade of fear and nothing more. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching today. We'll get into this much more in the future. You can see why we got deleted from YouTube. Find us obviously on BitChute, on LBRY/Odysee, and on Flote.app, FLOTE.app. Follow us on all three, please. Just backing it up. It's really important. I really appreciate it. Join our newsletter, by the way, which I did mention at the beginning, at www.iamband.com. iamband.com. All it takes is your email address. It takes 2 seconds, and it's really appreciative. It's free, all that. Of course, we are also we're also 100% viewer funded. We don't have monetization or anything like that. So please check out GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, and help us out there. That helps us out a lot. We are completely viewer funded, and we've been destroyed by all of this. And after I close this off, there will be a Bitcoin address on the screen that you could send to if you please. There's also a CoinTree address below where you can donate in multiple different kinds of cryptocurrency, as well as a Teespring store where you can buy Wham merchandise. I really appreciate it, guys. We need you now more than ever. Let's team together and go to Team YouTube on Twitter. See my pinned tweet at World Alt Media on Twitter and retweet that, like that tweet, and send Team YouTube a message that says reinstate World Alternative Media's channel and demand it. And I don't want to reinstate it so I can just post all day there. It's so that I can redirect all the people that aren't aware yet, the 99% of people on there that aren't aware that I'm on BitChute now, that they have to go over to those platforms to see my work, and also to preserve the history of the videos I did on the ground in the Middle East and in Africa, which are now wiped from the internet, and it's disgusting. Anyways, I really appreciate everyone watching. Check out this Bitcoin address coming up right away. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.